1st, 2010.
It's one of those.
For those of you that remember and those of you that don't, the gavel was meeting before the last meeting, and it was determined that someone from District 201 School Board had placed it in the wrong location after the meeting. So I thought, I've had this in my office for quite a long time. It was presented to me by previous mayors Jim Addington and Frank Bellerive, and I've always been wondering, there has to be an occasion when I'll find time to use it, and I figured tonight was that time.
Or you could play croquet.
Let the meeting begin.
Does that mean it's going to be a rough evening?
I'd like to call upon our clerk, Virginia Simsky, to take the roll call, please.
My formal tonight. Mayor Ron.
Here.
Clerk's here. Trustee Emery.
Here.
Trustee Fleming.
Here.
Trustee Forsley.
Here.
Trustee Klebanow.
Here.
Trustee Scott.
Here.
Trustee Seneca.
Here.
Manager Searle.
Here.
Attorney Zemanek.
Here.
Economic Development Director and Assistant Manager Kimball. Here. Police Chief Mulhern.
Here. Thank you. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item this evening are the minutes of the committee. The whole meeting held January 14th and board meeting held January 18th, 2010.
As corrected.
As corrected.
Motion to approve Seneca.
Second, Scott.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Thank you. Reports, the mayor. The only thing I would like to request is an executive session this evening after our meeting concludes regarding personnel. Moving right along, our village clerk.
I'm just going to remind everybody that tomorrow is the primary election, so vote from 6 to 7 tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. So that's all.
Thank you. Village Attorney John Zemanek.
I have nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Manager Ron Searle.
The only thing I have is last Thursday, it was announced that there was going to be a Public Information Committee meeting this evening. But due to a glitch in the preparation of the agenda, that meeting was rescheduled for February 18th at 6 p.m. here at the Village Hall. That's all I have.
Thank you. First item, Appeals Board for Multifamily Dwelling Licensing Ordinance. Board to consider approval of the following. A motion appointing the following individuals to the Multifamily Dwelling Licensing Ordinance Appeals Committee. 1, Jeff Mueller, a landlord. 2, Lee Fleming, village trustee. 3, a tenant to be determined. And 4, an alternate village trustee. And Trustee Sue Seneca has offered to fill the position of the alternate member for that committee. And B, an ordinance adopting composition and hearing procedures for a multifamily dwelling licensing ordinance appeals committee.
Motion to approve A.
Second, Forsley.
Discussion on point A.
Just that for item 3, a tenant, that will have to come back to you at some future time. The tenant is determined.
Okay. Anything further? Roll call.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Abstain.
Trustee Fleming.
Abstain.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Okay. Point B.
Motion to approve Scott.
Second, Emery.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
2010 Chamber Open House Events. Board to consider an ordinance approving a request from the Westmont Chamber of Commerce and the Westmont Special Events Corporation to A, waive the required $100 per day liquor license fees associated with the sale and serving of alcohol for the Chamber's Open House on February 24th and September 23rd, along with the Business After Hours event sponsored by the WSEC on March 29, 2010. And B, permit the serving and consumption of alcohol in a village-owned building, namely 1 South Cass Avenue, during these events.
Motion to approve both A and B?
Second, Forsley.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Forsley?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Okay. 233 West 63rd Street, Westmont Yard Complex. Board to consider an ordinance approving a zoning code variance request to increase the maximum gross square footage of signage.
Motion to approve, Forsley.
Second, Fleming.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Forsley?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Okay. Next item, 24 North Washington. Board to consider an ordinance for a zoning code variance to encroach into the required side yard setback for the purpose of constructing a portico.
Motion to approve Seneca? Second Emery?
Discussion?
I just have one thing I'd like to say, and I know it's not on their plans, but I'm hoping that if they do put like a gutter on the sides because of the roof line, that if it's possible, they probably can't do it to the front, but maybe the back of the roof line, because it comes to the back of the house, maybe they could find a way of directing that to their own property. I'm kind of worried about the water running onto the neighbor's property, so maybe they could work it out with staff. I don't think it can be done for the front end, but it might possibly be able to be done for the back end. So just thought I'd ask them if they could work it out. It'd help the neighbors out, I'm sure. That's all. Thank you.
Anything else? Roll call.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Forsley?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
420 East Ogden Avenue, Laurel BMW Baker Square property. Board to consider an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow Laurel BMW to operate an automobile dealership in the B2 General Business District at 420 East Ogden Avenue.
Motion to approve, Fleming.
Second, Scott.
Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I've asked staff to come up with a little bit of additional information, so I'd like a motion to postpone this one until the next meeting so that I can get some additional information on it.
Okay. Request to postpone.
Are you making that motion then?
Yes.
We need a
I'll
second.
second it.
Roll call.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Forsley?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Next item, 276 East Ogden Avenue, Audi. Board to consider approval of the following ordinances. A, special use permit request to operate an automobile dealership in the B2 General Business District. B, plat of subdivision to consolidate 3 parcels into 1 buildable lot. Zoning code variance request to permit parking on the required front yard setback. Revised site landscaping plan approval. E, waivers from the following requirements of village codes and ordinances. 1, waiver to permit substandard parking stall dimensions. Number 2, waiver of the 4-foot tall parking lot fencing requirement. Number 3, waiver of the 4-foot wide planting strip requirement for portions of the development. And 4, waiver from the full masonry requirement for commercial structures. We have a motion.
individually.
Yes.
Motion to approve A, Seneca.
Second.
Fleming.
Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Forsley?
Yes.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Item B.
Motion to approve, Scott.
Second, Forsley.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Forsley?
Yes.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Point C.
Motion to approve C, Forsley.
Second, Emery.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Forsley?
Yes.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Point D.
Motion to approve, Scott.
Second, Emery.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Forsley?
Yes.
Point E.
Motion to approve, Fleming.
Second, Emery.
Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Forsley?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Next item, 1 and 5 East Ogden Avenue, Walgreens. Board to consider approval of the following ordinances. A, special use permit request for drive-through pharmacy window. Plat of subdivision to consolidate 3 parcels into 1 buildable lot. Zoning code variance request to permit parking and supplemental front yard setback. Zoning code variance request to allow more than 2 identification signs on a corner lot. E, zoning code variance request to increase the maximum gross square footage of signage, site and landscaping plan review. And G, waivers from the following requirements of the village codes and ordinances. 1, waiver to permit substandard parking stall dimensions. And 2, waiver of the 4-foot tall parking lot fencing requirement. We have a motion on point A.
Motion to approve, Scott.
Second, Emery.
Discussion?
At just some point, I don't know when this will be brought up, we all got an email about the fencing. If that's something I don't know if that we talk about here, or if that's even necessary, but the safety issue that was brought up, I thought was a good thought, and I apologize, I did not get a chance to look at the property, so
I
was
Googled
hoping-
it and, because I wasn't feeling good to drive there, but I don't see any fencing, and that was a very, important part. Yes, I agree
So,
with you on that.
G.
Fred?
Your Honor, the developer is here, Mr. Vidovitz, and I did have a conversation with him about that today, and he expressed a willingness to reevaluate the need for fencing over there. He indicated that as a developer for Walgreens, they're always very concerned with safety and security, and would be certainly willing to discuss that. Is that correct? If you'd like to hear directly from the developer, he is here this evening.
Okay. Good sign.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Walgreens operates their own stores, whether it's a lease or an owned store. Their primary concern for a variety of reasons, 2 of which are very important, are 1, liability, and 2, their public image, as well as for the safety of their customers and any stakeholders in the community or any stakeholders that may be coming around as well. So this this property being next to the children's, what is it exactly?
Daycare.
The daycare, that's right.
Daycare.
Being the daycare, they're going to be very cautious of that. So what we've proposed right now is agriculture trees, different shrubs that would really be a dividing line between the 2. I'm open to taking anything back to the Walgreens company in order to help out. In other instances, particularly in the city, what I've done is a 6-foot fence. I'm doing a 3-foot fence on Western Avenue on the north side of the city, which is pedestrian friendly. I'm open to suggestions, but at this time, as you see in our plans, we don't have anything proposed per se for the fence, but more so for agriculture.
I'm not quite sure agriculture will keep kids out if they really want to get through.
And I wouldn't think that you need a 6-foot fence along that line.
No, it's only required 4 foot anyway. I think that would be
Yeah,
enough.
you know, I mean,
Is that something you can talk with the daycare center? I mean, they're going to know if they need a fence. They may say, we don't need one. I don't know. To me, it sounds like you would, like you said.
I'll move to postpone this till, Fred, you can talk to the daycare people, see what they'd like, because if they get any runners, they're going to need something besides shrubs these kids can dive into. And see what they would like and what staff recommends, so that we can, and find out, you know, if it's doable between Walgreens, and then present those back to us, please.
Okay.
Do you have a scheduled closing that would be interfered with if this is postponed for 2 weeks?
I do have certain hurdles, so we really were looking forward to some resolution today.
Well, we could vote on everything but G until they have an answer.
Well, what you can do is require G2,
Okay.
which is a 4-foot tall fence.
Right.
And let
Not
the
waive it.
petitioner come back, and if they're proposing an alternative, then they can
Then we
propose that, and
could-
you can consider it.
Do you live with that?
One question I do have, and I say this with all due respect, I'm just wondering that if it's going to be, if the daycare is right next door, is there any opportunity, is there any way to enforce the daycare to really put up the fence rather than Walgreens?
Well, they actually have a fence
They do?
around the back.
Okay, because I did drive by
So
today.
I'm a
Not the
little.
parking up.
I have mixed feelings on this.
Okay.
But is it up in the parking area where they would be unloading and loading the kids?
no, I never had, I guess the question is, with what's there now,
With a drive-through, they've never had it.
they've never had it.
Never had it before.
Yeah.
Well,
My immediate concern was if this Walgreens ever goes to sell alcohol, people, you know, cutting through near the school, you know, because we have all of the rules about alcohol being sold within a proximity of a school. That was my immediate concern, but
Is the requirement for a fence a deal breaker? When you can come back in and ask to amend it?
It's tough. I'm here as a representative for the Walgreens company. Unfortunately, I'm not able to bind them to certain issues at this point. I need to go back and go through the bureaucracy of Walgreens in order, they had certain plans approved, and the plans that we submitted were approved and recently modified, including the signage, which we worked with staff on. It's tough because I have a feeling that Walgreens is going to say if the daycare needs a fence for the safety of their children, the daycare should really be putting up the fence. And
Well, I
right now, there are 2 drive-throughs without a fence. And please understand, I'm speaking,
of course.
I understand that,
But I
but
think
considering Walgreens' 2 priorities that you represented,
right.
both of them would necessitate Walgreens to put up a fence. So I think that we would be remiss in not requiring at this point until you reach an agreement with staff and Walgreens. And I certainly don't think that corporate would see an amendable requirement as a deal breaker.
Right. The problem would be, and I envision this, again, I'm not committing to it, the problem would be they would say, we believe that the trees or the shrubbery that we put up would be a good dividing line. And again, they're going to go back and possibly say that if the daycare is concerned with the safety for the children, the daycare should really be responsible for the fencing and not Walgreens for the safety of the children.
The 4-foot tall fence requirement that is on the agenda for a waiver, is that the fence we're talking about, or is that a different?
I believe that is a different fence
I
around
think
the
it's on a
detention.
different part of the
Yeah.
parking lot.
So they had to put fencing or landscape screening up along that property boundary, right? One or the other by code?
Yes.
And they chose to do the landscape screening, but it's within the board's power to require fencing if you see a safety issue. It's really
we're not asking for the fencing. Well, they're going to have fencing around that detention anyway in the back.
not the detention, I'm just.
Yeah, but the
Talking-
side of
The
it.
side by the,
But I mean,
I think a good point was brought up,
Yeah.
that there's no fence there now, and you got to drive through.
and I look at the point that,
So-
I don't remember when this ever came before the board,
probably a lot
but I
more
mean,
traffic.
it could have been overlooked
Yeah.
at one time, but it doesn't mean that we were blind to the fact that maybe it should have had a fence, and here's the opportunity now. I don't know if we could go back and force the daycare after they've been up without a fence. I don't think you can force them now to go back and put a fence up. But we can still protect the side with, and just not provide a waiver on the fencing.
I don't know that we can force them, but I think we can say to them, if you feel the need, feel free to put one up.
Right.
The drive-through that goes past that area now is probably far more busy than the prescription drive-through will be. I
I
would
think it was there
guess.
before the daycare, too.
Good point.
The daycare went in there knowing that that was there.
Right, right. I forgot about that.
This is
But I
the-
don't know.
I don't, the way I stand right now, I don't have a problem voting with it the way it is right now. I'm not that convinced that
It's on Ogden Avenue,
you
too.
have
We
to
have to
have,
realize.
it's on Ogden Avenue. I mean, I don't see, I mean, we've come up with, and I'm going to say it flat out, this is a project which is a win-win for this village. And if we go to Walgreens and say, well, if you don't put up a 4-foot fence between that property and this, I think we're getting a little off base. I understand the concern, I really do. But there comes a time when you have to make harsh decisions. Whether or not people consider this a hard decision or not, but right now, I got no problem voting on it just the way it is.
Well, I guess I have a problem because, I mean, they are before us asking us for 7 variances. And we're asking just one tweaking of a variance.
Well, that's where we differ
So,
then, sorry.
if that's going to break their deal, then I'm sorry.
I think, you know, the one thing I would say, and I don't want to think of it as being naive, but when you think about how long we've been working with Walgreens, staff has worked with Walgreens, Walgreens has come back and made pretty substantial changes to meet our needs. And naive or not, I honestly believe that, you know, if we go back to them at a later point and say, you know, would you mind putting up a fence? I think they would be very reasonable if, and I can't speak for them, and that's why I say it might be naive, but just given the track record so far and how wonderful they've been to work with, I think these are reasonable people. I'm fine voting on it the way it is. Bob Scott, Trustee Scott, makes an excellent point that, you know, the drive-through was there long before the school, and they kind of went in there knowing there was going to be a drive-through already. So I think those are things that I want to consider anyway.
That and the bus unloads on Ogden Avenue.
Exactly,
The
yeah,
bus
right
doesn't go in the
there.
driveway. They stop right on Ogden, they let those kids load on and load on Ogden Avenue. So it's, evidently, it doesn't seem to be much of a concern for the daycare,
Right.
as much maybe as it is for us. But they've lived with loading and unloading on Ogden, they've lived with a drive-through next to them. And if they felt there was a need, they could have put a fence on their property a long time ago. And they haven't. I tend to agree with Sue. I think that if Walgreens saw the need, or saw that it was important, the amount of money that they'd spend on landscaping would probably be about the same thing they'd put on a fence. And maybe the daycare center should be here stating that same thing. They should be here saying, listen, we're worried about what's going to happen next door, maybe we should have a fence, but they're not here. And that doesn't excuse it, but the object is,
No,
if it
but
was
it's-
important, you know, it hasn't been important all these years.
You did get notice of the public hearing mailed to them, and it was in the newspaper, and they did not show up at the public hearing, so.
Regardless of the vote today, I am fairly optimistic that I can go back to Walgreens and likely get a fence done. I just can't commit to anything today.
I could live with that.
What's that?
I could live with that.
Are you okay with that?
Are we going to vote on this tonight? I mean, as is, though?
Well, if you,
As it is, for G, I'm going to have to say no, as long as it has a 4-foot.
yeah,
you know,
because
says
if we
waiving.
waive it and say we need it later, they're under no obligation. If we don't waive it, and there's a requirement for a fence, and Fred has the opportunity to talk to KinderCare, and Walgreens says, here's the proposed landscaping, and Fred comes back and says, the daycare doesn't care, then I'm fine. I mean, we're talking, you know, we're talking about pretty irresponsible little people that run around there, and we, you know, there's going to be.
Can we approve it based on an answer, you know, can we say it's approved contingent on what the daycare people say? I don't know.
I would just say, just approve one and ask
I
them
have
to
no
come back
pro- I
and
mean-
ask for 2 later.
See, after listening to the conversation here, I don't have a problem with it anymore. I mean, you're
I
right.
really-
The
I'm okay with it
daycare
as
came in
is.
after White Castle. If they felt it, right? Is that
Well,
what
the
you're saying?
Dairy Queen drive-in was there right
And
next
the
to it before the
I mean,
daycare
they're
even got
professionals.
there.
If they felt they needed a
It's now
fence,
Quiznos.
they would have put a fence in there, you would think. If they
Well,
felt they needed a fence, they'd be here tonight. Now, that doesn't excuse it, I agree. But I'm okay with it. We're giving them every opportunity if we go back there and ask them, which is fine. But I'm thinking, like you, if, can we approve it with the condition? Or is it best to
Well,
not approve it? We'll defer to the attorney.
Depends on how strongly you want to be able to enforce it.
I mean, I see the traffic at Walgreens on 63rd, and it is probably quadruple what the traffic is on that corner where White Castle is now. And like Trustee Seneca said, if they decide they want to sell alcohol, we're going to have people coming in that to each his own, but based on the fact that the building is going to be a large square footage, moved back into that corner to the southeast versus, White Castle sitting right on the corner and a much, much bigger setback back into that corner. I'd prefer a fence. That's just the way I feel about it.
I just think it's going to be easier for them to come back and ask us and say they thought about it, and then let us see the landscaping and how it's supposedly going to keep people from cutting through. The only thing I could think of is if there was the Dairy Queen there, that maybe the daycare liked to cross over and it was easier for them to take the kids to the Dairy Queen, but they're not going to have that thing now with a Walgreens there, so.
And we would have the right, would we not, John, later, if they do decide to sell alcohol, we could make that a condition of their license, that they put a fence up between the school and the, could we?
You could. I think if you're that concerned about it, I think
mean,
you
if it's
should
really
do
an
it
issue.
now. This is their site plan review. The code requires a fence or screening. So, by requiring them to install a fence, you're not asking them to do anything other than what's required by code. So you have the right to do it.
To waive it now and go back and ask them to do it later is a much more difficult process.
And I think, I don't know how far out they need to come with the fence. I can work that out with staff, maybe right to where the first car is parked or something, and that's it. They don't have to go all the way out to the sidewalk. We're not asking that. So,
This will not delay the project if we vote to require the fence.
Well, it's an issue for
Well,
Walgreens.
It could be.
Could be.
It could be.
We just said they could come back later and refute it. If we,
I'm okay with it as it is. After the conversation, I think I'm okay. But,
I think them unloading on Ogden Avenue is more dangerous than not having a fence. Honest to Pete, I think that.
okay, we've got a mix of opinions. Can we take a straw poll vote? Everybody agreeable to that and move ahead?
Or the other way is to take the waiver item G2 out of the approval for G and vote on it as a separate matter.
Yes,
this is the school, right?
motion to do that.
Second, Scott.
This is it, right?
So the first vote will be voting to amend item G as written, and then you will vote on item G as amended.
There's still a motion outstanding for A, isn't there?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I guess we have to wait to
Yeah,
get to
I didn't know when to bring it up, so do it out right at the beginning.
well, then we'll wait, I guess, till we get to G.
Till we
and
get
then
to
we'll
G.
do
Till we
amending.
get there.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
When we get there. Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second on point A. Any further discussion? Point A, roll call, please.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Emery.
Yes,
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Point B,
so moved. Emery.
Second, Scott.
discussion? Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Emery.
Yes,
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Point C,
motion to approve, Emery.
Second, Fleming.
discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Emery.
Yes,
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Point D,
motion to approve, Emery.
Second, Scott.
discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Emery.
Yes,
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Point E.
Motion to approve Emery?
Second, Scott.
Discussion. Roll call. Point E.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Point F.
Motion to approve as long as the landscaping plan does not have on there that there will be no fence. I mean, the landscaping as is, motion to approve.
Second, Scott.
Discussion. Roll call.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Point G.
Motion to separate points 1 and 2 for separate voting.
Second, Scott.
Discussion. Motion on point 1.
Voting to separate them, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so first we're going to vote on the
Separate.
procedural aspect of separating the two before we vote on the actual vote on number 1 and then vote on number 2.
How would you like that to be stated?
I think that's, your motion was first to
separate 'em for
separate
voting.
1 and 2, and that was seconded,
So
so we'll
moved.
take a roll call on that.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Okay. And the next motion would be to approve G1.
So moved, Emery.
Second, Fleming.
Discussion. Roll call.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Next motion would be to approve item 2.
So moved, Emery.
Second, Fleming.
Discussion. Roll call.
Trustee Emery.
No.
Trustee Forsley.
Looking at the pictures here. Yes.
Trustee Scott.
No.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
No.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Mayor
Mr.
Ron.
Mayor,
Yes. Next item. Downers Grove Sanitary District Intergovernmental Agreement. Board to consider an ordinance entering into an intergovernmental agreement with the Downers Grove Sanitary District for the West Cass Avenue Alley improvements between Naperville Road and Burlington Avenue.
So moved, Emery.
Second, Seneca?
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Okay. Next item. Intergovernmental agreement with Community School District 201 for siren relocation. Board to consider an ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement with Community Unit School District 201 for relocation of the village's emergency warning siren located at 909 Oakwood Drive.
Motion to approve, Seneca?
Second, Scott.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Next item, multifamily dwelling licensing ordinance late fee waiver. Board to consider a motion approving the waiver of late fees for Christian Sant for property at 120 65th Street related to year 2010 licensing fees under the multifamily dwelling licensing ordinance. Do we have a motion?
So moved, Emery.
Second, Seneca?
Discussion?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and with the information we got, he didn't get notified. I guess when they send it, like the mail was forwarding it probably to the previous owner. So I think this is a different circumstance. I think we can separate, not worrying about making this a, some kind of a, statement. I think they should be able to separate the two and decide if somebody received it, they have to pay the late fee. But I almost look at it that this is almost like somewhat of our village's fault because the water had been changed. So I think we need to keep up with the water department to make sure that any new owner, especially in multifamily, gets that information over immediately to the building department so we can get a head start and not have this problem.
I'm sure that may happen now.
I feel that in view of the fact that, we'd been talking about this for so many months, maybe even years, and it's been in the news, it's been, public hearing after public hearing, people coming before us, there's been a lot of conversation on this. I think all business owners would recognize the fact that they have to take a certain amount of responsibility to know what's expected of them, and I think this reaffirms the importance of having a manager on site. This is exactly, what a lot of the problem has been, and that is absentee landlords and business owners. I very firmly believe that the late fee should be assessed. Just my own opinion.
Well, we even know people here in town don't have access to the internet or whatever their reasons and may not get the newspaper, and just because it was in there, and this person doesn't even live in town. So I don't even know this new owner had the opportunity. I don't know if this is if he's a first-time apartment owner. I didn't know if he was here, if he could answer that, but I don't. But, because that would have told me if he's had other apartments in other towns, and if they had an ordinance, then he might have questioned it. But if he has other apartments in other towns, and they don't have an ordinance, and they never heard of an ordinance, then I could see where this would have been new. And being in the sales end of it, I know darn well that previous owner, there was no way he was going to say, oh, by the way, you have to do this. That was not going to help him sell. So he pulled one over on this guy, except I'm sure he got a pretty good deal, I hope. But I just don't think it's worth worrying about for $24, being that we do have proof he did not receive the information.
Is there a possibility of this setting a precedent or not?
Absolutely. I think you could get a groundswell of people coming in saying, I never got notice, and then the village has to dig up the records and find out who was mailed to, et cetera. On the other hand, this is the first year this ordinance is being implemented. Your goal is to get people to sign up, get licensed, get compliance. You might have some bumps in the road that first year with no sympathy that's, moving forward after that. So I see both sides to it, but it would definitely set a precedent.
I'm also looking at, what are we saying? Welcome to Westmont? There was a similar situation when I moved in years and years and years ago with some other portion of our village, and it was not a welcome to Westmont. So, we're trying to be friendly. We're trying to get people to come. And like I said, if it was a substantial amount, if he bought one of those huge buildings where there would be a lot, but this is minor, and he came in as soon as he found out, it looks like.
If he didn't get the same notice that everybody else got, I don't think that holding him to a notice provision that was never mailed to him, despite the fact that it was big news in town, it doesn't mean everybody and their brother sacrifices watching the national news to watch Channel 6 or 16. In light of the fact that he didn't get the same notice everybody else did, I think that in his case we waive it. And although I agree there's precedent, anybody that didn't get the notice, despite the village having records of who these people are, I don't see that we charge them for it.
I think that's the bump in the road that John talks about. We had an address on them, evidently, but the one department didn't let the other department know, or we didn't ask. And I think that's our responsibility to make sure that we get the information to those people.
I agree.
If they lived in town, I'd agree with Sue 100%.
Right.
Zing him on it, but not when he lives out of town.
In hearing the conversation, I definitely agree. We have a responsibility to have checks and balances within. We have departments, virtually across the hall from one another. Maybe we could have and should have checked. Another part of me, though, says, you know what, you're a business owner. I think you have a responsibility to know what's required of you. And again, it's just so important that all of these apartment building owners have a manager either on site or certainly, within a reasonable radius of the building, mile-wise.
Well, even his tenants didn't tell him.
It's in Darien. It's in
Okay, so if his tenants know what's going on, or they don't know what's going on,
Or he doesn't communicate with them. I mean, that's also possible.
But we need to get information from him now and see if he does is he gonna be his own manager? Then it's gonna be his responsibility, But like I said, because it seemed like he came in as soon as he found out, he might have been one to comply if the previous owner would have kind of given him a heads up, but darn well, they're not gonna do that. So, and there could be others out there that have changed ownership, they were threatening to do it, I'm gonna get rid of it, so maybe some of them folks unloaded during that time period. But it's easy to go back and find out when the purchase was and, when the water got turned over, but it just shows us we need to be vigilant now on these multifamilies to see if there's any kind of a changeover on it.
The best thing to do is when they do a notice, the water bills are the most current, they're under the village's control, and they do a computer printout of them and merge them into a mail. That's how it's done.
I'd like to welcome him and try to get off on a good foot.
I agree.
Any other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, roll call.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes, mixed feelings, yes. It's called responsibility, people.
Why do I have this big urge to say no? Mayor votes no on this issue, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Finance ordinance number 19.
On this first day of February 2010, our finance ordinance is in the amount of $1,212,068.36.
Motion to approve, Seneca?
Second, Emery.
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Purchase orders.
Motion to approve the one purchase order for $7,056.
Second, Seneca?
Discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Is there anything further to come before the board at this time?
Your Honor, there's a gentleman in the audience who's a 20-year employee of the village and thought he was to be here tonight to receive some sort of a presentation. I guess.
Oh.
There are no presentations that are going to be presented this evening.
Do you know that?
That's why.
I'm not sure
It's being scheduled.
who would have told them that, but there are going to be employee recognitions given on the meeting March 1st.
But is that this one or is that the fire department?
No, it's
No,
both.
Both?
both.
Sorry. So now it's like 20 years and 4 hours. Sorry. Thank you for coming.
Okay. Okay, unless there's something further, I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session regarding personnel.
So moved, Emery.
Second, Seneca?
Roll call.
Trustee Emery.
Yes.
Trustee Forsley.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Fleming.
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Thank you.